In some way, you're trying to distract yourself from this silence that is already there for you. But we can share it together right now. And that's not to poke you. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm just saying we're all doing that. I'm doing that. I'm doing that unless I really choose deliberately what I want, you know? And I want silence. And I'm not talking about silence outside. I mean, I got that here. I'm in a beautiful forest. But I just come here because it helps me get more silent inside. That's really the silence that I'm talking about. That's the silence that truly handicaps our mind. And you know, it's what we want, actually. We're afraid of it. We're afraid of it because we think we are that story going on, right? That problem that we're perceiving, whatever that is. You know, but the real problem we have, the only real problem, I mean, it's a dangerous thing to say because we have worldly problems. I'm not saying we don't. But I'm saying the true fundamental problem, what we're all facing here, is this ability to be in our own silence. Because that's how we stand. That's how we stand at the gates of heaven. You know, we hold ourselves here in this inner peace that we have. No matter what, I just come here because it it makes it easier for me, but I know that I can bring this wherever I go, and it's got a different flavor here too. There's a silence also in the nature around me, so I can sort of relish in the juiciness of that as well. So, you know, the question for us is, why do we do the things we do? Like, why did you click on this video? What attracted you to it? You want to listen to some guy in the forest walking around? I mean, it's great that we're here together, no doubt. But my point is, like, why do we reach outside of us as our default? You know, why do we do that when we know that, I mean, if we've done a little bit of investigating, we know that everything we're doing is really looking for this inside connection with ourselves. But even when we know that, we keep looking outside. And you know, you might say, well, that's just clicking on a video, or that's just doing whatever I do. And you know, I can be inside at the same time while I'm doing these things. And that's true. I'm, you know, anything I say here is going to be, we can contradict it with another opposing truth. So it's not that doing anything has any inherent the wrongness to it, you know. We're here to do, we're humans. You know, we do stuff, that's for sure. But we usually do stuff not knowing the key, you know, the key element of why we're here, which is to touch ourselves inside, you know, and, you know, get a little bit tranced out, you know, spaced out by that inner experience, that peace that we have right here, like right now. It's fun to get handicapped by the silence. It's like this echo through my experience, this residual deepening, this kind of like inner giggle. So then what to do, right, when we're not in that, and like how do we deal with all the shit that comes up for us, you know, all the inner uprisings, the challenges, the emotional stuff, all that stuff. What do we do then? What do we do then, Chris? Well, I'm in the same boat here, guys. You know, I you know, I got a lot of things going on. They're still working themselves out. But you know, I'd give myself the same advice, right? We just keep on keeping on. You know, we stay the course. Because we know the direction. We know the direction is inside. We know the direction no matter what we do, no matter where we go, no matter who we're with, no matter what we're doing. The fundamental essence of every thing is this core kind of essential movement of energy, you know, through our whatever, soul, our being, our essence. And this is what brings us alive, truly. And we can do whatever we want to do. It doesn't matter really what we do. I mean, we have discernment, we choose things, but you know, we can have this, we can feel this flow of energy no matter what we're doing. And you know, the energy feels best when it's silent, because we can channel all kinds of other things, it feels like. But what are the fruits, right? What are the fruits of our actions? What are the fruits of our experience? We have to ask ourselves, we got to get clear. What energy am I channeling, and how does that feel for myself, you know? And, you know, it definitely, eventually, from my experience, it boils down to a more and more peaceful, content place. And, you know, I don't always want that still, you know, that feeling of peace and content. I want excitement. Sometimes I want mild drama. But, you know, it's kind of, you know, we're human, right? We're human here too. And, you know, it's just that the being that we are gets mostly overlooked, right, by the majority of us. The human is center stage, and the being is way, way, way in the back row. So my message is bring your being just a little closer to the stage, you know? Watch that seesaw eventually shift its weight, where your being, your beingness, the energy flowing within you and through you is more and more what we understand ourselves to be. You know, not conceptually, but in our experience, in our sense felt experience. That's life. We get that through life. You know, we can train ourselves on the cushion. We can meditate, or we can do things like this, go in nature, whatever works for us. And then we bring what we learn, what we embody out into the world. Because we're here to be humans too. We're here to be humans, but we're meant to be sourced in our beings, sourced in this beingness. And the beingness is very simple. We all know what it is. You don't have to be in a forest. You can get it in a busy city, you can get it in chaos. You can get it anytime, anywhere. But it's good to practice it. It's good to practice it when situations are easier. Then you get to know that part, right? That part of yourself. It's not a part of yourself. It's what you are. It's who you are. It's the ego, the mind, the thinking personality that you believe yourself to be. That's just a part of you, a small part of you. The entirety part of you is that silence, that beingness. You know, silence is even not a great word. There's no great words for it, you know. We can pick a few that we like, but the point to it. But really it's a It's not even a state, right? It's the mind wants to call it a state. We want to label it as something. But it's even a falling away, a falling back, a falling awake from any type of state, really. And then we live through all our states in that experience. If you even want to call it an experience, it's kind of out of this world. And we all know it. We've all felt it. I'm almost positive that everybody has had a feeling of this experience, but we just don't notice it. We don't notice it. We don't know, we're not taught that we can nurture it. We can give more and more attention to it. We can feed it. Not that it needs feeding, but it needs recognizing. And then it kind of, in a sense, recognizes itself, right? It's not you that recognize it. I mean, your mind can recognize it, but the being itself recognizes itself. It's another pointer, right? It's not accurate. Nothing I'm saying here is accurate. It's just pointing. So if you want to sense it, and if you already know it, great, then just go there more. But if you're kind of a little confused and you're not really sure what I'm talking about, then you gotta kind of, well, my strategy approach that I would give, you gotta set the conditions, right? You gotta set the right conditions to allow, a deeper experience to come in. So for me, I find, getting quiet, getting still, being with yourself, taking moments, even if it's 5 minutes on a bench in a busy city somewhere. You don't need some special situation. I'm just a bit of a nature boy, so I like it out here. So yeah, you have it right now, you have it right now, it's right here. You've always had it, and you're never gonna lose it. You just allow yourself to become aware of it, Stand at the gates of heaven, and then God will reach in and pull you to himself, herself, itself. The experience of the divine right here on earth. And when things come up, when life gets tricky, you'll be more prepared. Because the more you spend here, the more moments you marinate in this experience of your being, the more ready you are for life, the more ready you are for your family or for your work or for your dealing with the challenges of life, and the more higher your capacity for the wonderful emotions comes in. You just get more resilient because your center now gets more and more grounded in your essence, not in your story and your emotions and all this stuff, which includes you looking at yourself and thinking yourself of that as that body, as that human, right? This goes very deep. Deep and all-encompassing. So get ready for life. This is how we get ready for life, and this is how we be with life. This is how we be with existence. And when the stories come up and all the thoughts come up and all the mind tries to do its thing, it's like a pot, right? It's like it's on the stove and the fire's going under it, and it's bubbling like crazy. That's your mind and your emotions. When you turn off that heat, or you start turning down that heat, the bubbles still go for a while. They keep going. There's residual there. So recognize that, right? There's a process. There's a huge amount of this stuff collected, within you. And even from before your lifetime, it's genetic, right? There's human evolution history happening here. The human story, the collective story. You're part of that. So there's a whole bunch of residual energy there that bubbles for a while. But when you turn the heat off, eventually it cools down. It takes time. It takes time. So be patient and kind with yourself as much as you can, but your programmings might be to do the opposite. So you got to catch those things. You know, like you can't just be in this silence without working out all the things that stop you from being there, that pull you from being there. You know, the path is much more about looking for those things than it is about trying to just transcend into a, you know, blissful state. You can get glimpses of that, but we can't maintain it. It's not sustainable when there's all this garbage still, you know, up here and in here. We got to take out the trash. We got to take out the trash, the inner trash. So, you know, don't take it too personally. It's not really personal. It's not. It's individual. It feels individual, but it's not personal. You know, no credit, no blame. And from this place, we're actually efficient. We're actually way more effective at dealing with life. It's the personal nature that makes it so, we make it so resistant. You know, we get so resistant around it. Because we believe it's us versus the world to some degree, or us versus ourselves, you know? So this personal nature is, not taking things personally is key. It's key for the ease of the situation that's inevitable to happen. You want to make it easier on yourself. So do what you can to not take it personally. Don't take credit, don't take blame, but take full participation for your life. Don't step out onto the sidelines, you know, unless you just want to take a look for a while, that's okay. But you got to be on the field. You got to play the game of life. You can't be in denial or go too far back. But then at the same time, you don't want to take it personally. You want to be as grateful as you can. Now, this is not easy sometimes because, you know, it can feel like, man, we're not getting what we need. But again, we just got to give attention to as we can, to this stuff like gratitude. You know, we give attention to these types of states as well. We can evoke them. We can bring them forward. You know, we have quite a high capacity often for negative emotions and negative states. But it's a big switch when we start to realize that we also have a high capacity for elated states and elated emotions. And we can nurture these things as well. Not just the anxiety and the anger or rage, whatever we might be feeling that, you know, has its place at times. It's not to say those things aren't relevant, but they're often on overdrive, right? They're often, the RPMs are running high on those. So we have a high capacity to deal with them. We also, you know, if we give attention to it, we have a high capacity to feel joy, to feel gratitude, to feel love. And these are actually, you know, they feel even more intense. You know, so, you know, it takes a lot of work to be really joyful, to be really grateful. But we can give attention to that and we can develop it. Just like anything, you know, you learn how to play golf, you get better at it. This is no different. So there's a few things we can do, right? We can participate here. You know, we can do what we can to just be handicapped by that silence, by that beautiful silence. We can go there, and if it feels great and it feels juicy, stay there, be there. But then when the things arise, be there too. You be there with those things while you're also being with your beingness. You hold them both at the same time. You do this sort of quantum experience. You be in your being and you're being and then you also have your human experience. And this is how you refine those things. This is how you cool down the bubbling pot on your stove. This is how you turn off the heat so things can cool down for you. You be with your beingness while things arise. You love them while they arise. And you hold your being there while you're there. This is actually, when we understand this, when we know how this works, it's so obvious, it's so simple. But it is tricky to get there. The beginning is the trickiest part. And then once we're on that road, we're on that road. Because we realize how fundamental this is, how much this just affects everything, how we think, how we behave, how we treat others, how we treat ourselves. We need to do the work. We need to do this, this so-called shadow work. So we got to do that work. And then when we have moments in between, we have these little retreats, these experiences, we can also will in, to some degree, a quieter state of being. We can stand there and we can wait. We can be patient. And we can wait for our deeper sense of knowing of who we are and what we are to reveal itself to us, to bring itself to us, to merge with us. And then we can hold it there, we can be there. And it's uncomfortable at first because it's like a non-experience that we sort of have underneath all of the experience that's going on. So there's this whole other like, whoa, that's what I mean. You get a little handicapped at first, you kind of spaced out a bit, that's okay, that's okay. And to some degree, there's always a level of spaced outness that continues because the attention is not captivated the way it was before by the little mind and the little emotions and all the experiences that we're having. So there's a bit of a spaced out, kind of way about it. But it settles into a more functional place over time. Because this is a natural process, right? This is not some mountain that we have to climb. The mind would just want us to think that, right? The story would have to say, oh, this is such a huge, difficult thing to do. Like, how could I possibly achieve this? There's nothing to achieve. Right? There's nothing to achieve. But while the mind thinks there is, to some degree, the mind has to go through its own little inner labyrinth, working itself out, only to sort of like extinguish itself, not completely delete itself, because it's wonderful to have the mind, but you just don't want to believe that you are the mind, right? That's what's being burned out. That's the bubbling that's cooling down. When the bubbles are boiling hard, it's it's a mind that has captivated the attention of awareness, and the awareness has been veiled and forgotten, and the mind is now, in a sense, focused on itself. It's still powered and energized by this deeper awareness, but the deeper awareness is veiled. And so the mind thinks it is itself, and it doesn't allow the being to know itself as itself. Remember, this is just a pointer, right? This is just a description over something that you can't actually describe with the mind, because that would mean that if you believe the thought about what it is, you're kind of in the mind again, right? So that's the tricky part about this. That's the trickiest part, really. But it's really not that complicated, and I'm talking about it here to help those that want to hear it, to sort of do it for themselves, right? I can't do it for you. This video can't do it for you. It can hopefully, be a support, right, in that process. No one's coming for you. You're coming for yourself. That's what's happening right now. But no one else is coming for you.